under the employ of American engineer and entrepreneur George Westinghouse. A man who possessed a unique talent for perceiving the limitless possibilities provided by electrical engineering and then manifesting those ideas into reality. His inventions were often so far ahead of their time that their innovation and practical application would not be recognized for decades. His vision for a world of free energy has been the inspiration for the generations of scientists who followed him. Was he a man from out of time? Did he perhaps have help from an interplanetary source? This case file join the theorists as they rock down to Electric Avenue and get you high and watch the sparks fly, discussing Nikola Tesla.
File 197, Tesla and aliens. I'm Sick Braden.
I'm COVID Zell.
I'm Healthy Dan.
I'm Healthier Andrew.
You
motherfuckers. So for those who don't know or haven't heard, Zell and I attended what can only be described now as
the worst wedding ever.
Everyone at this outdoor wedding got mucho sick. Everyone caught COVID. Man, honestly, it feels like day 3, but it's like day 5 of being sick with COVID. And we're not drinking this episode, Zell and I, but it's going to be crazier than ever because we both have high fevers. So it's
I am still drinking.
Are you?
Yeah.
How? Dude, how are you even fucking pulling that off?
He's got an IV line just hanging behind with
Dude,
vodka.
I'm worried about blood clots, so I'm thinning my blood just a little bit.
Is blood clots a thing?
It could be.
Oh, it definitely
For
is.
fuck's sakes,
it fucking could be.
Well, I feel like I've got every symptom. Now I gotta worry about this.
Wait till you get the COVID toes.
I've been staring at my toes every morning, looking at them.
What are COVID toes?
You never heard of COVID toes? Wow, you'll find out.
Their toes get discolored, or they can get discolored. They go like white or something, don't they?
Well, it's just, you get a lot of, there's circulation side effects. It's an inflammatory response. It's not good. It's not good.
So I'm just drinking just a little, tiny bit, just in case, it's thin the blood. Why not?
So yeah, it's been a wild ride. Like, it's such a weird, and this is a huge opportunity for me and Zell to get hired on by the leftist media to promote, keep promoting the COVID hoax. So it's just, if you guys can go with it, this is a huge opportunity for me and Zell to be sick for the next 2 weeks in order to let everyone know how shitty it is. It's such a weird, dude, it's really the weirdest sickness I've ever had because it changes like hourly almost, and you're just like, what the, like today I was feeling great, man.
It's because it was made in a lab. That's why.
I was feeling good, and then it was just like, boom, back to sinus pressure. I'm like, okay, I have a sinus infection again, like sweet. Then it's like, it just clears up like an hour later. I'm like, man, awesome. I'm good. Then I'm just like, oh, I'm so nauseous. Just went through up. I was like, what's going on inside my body here? And it's just wild. And now I'm just
Brayden
like,
definitely got it worse than me by far, but I had the worst outcome is the fact that now I live in the studio. I shit in the garage, and I shower in the backyard with the hose.
It's fucking terrible.
I love it.
Hardcore quarantine. Shits in the bucket or he gets the hose.
Do it. Hey, quarantining right.
And people have asked, people that do know, a lot of people have asked, both me and Zell are vaccinated. We have our first doses, and what's the matter? This blows my mind. A lot of people are like, well, I thought you couldn't get it. No, that it was never a thing with getting vaccinated. You can 100% and will 100% still get it. It just minimizes your chance of having symptoms that will send you to the hospital or morgue. And honestly, I'm so happy I got vaccinated because I feel like with what I've had, I'd be dead if I was full blown.
Yeah, you had like a moderate time without it. Maybe you get a little oxygen in your nose there.
But dude, if I didn't have my nose job,
Oh, you'd be struggling so
I'd
hard
be struggling right now.
I mean, there's an easy explanation. Zell, you're the man of steel. COVID's not going to get you down.
Yeah, it's fine. That's why I'm still drinking.
Fine. Yeah, it's good.
I'm sweating profusely in my leather chair, but
You're sweating it out.
you can't see it. I'm just getting rid of it, expelling the disease. Anyways,
If
we'll,
sweating it out cured you, I would have been cured day one. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
we'll talk more about the ridiculous symptoms we've had in after
In
hours.
after hour, yeah. We'll go through the tale of getting it and what it's been like in after hours.
Yeah, tell the whole story.
Tonight we're talking about the man, the myth, the legend, Nikola Tesla, and aliens. Apparently, some wires were crossed. Some headings may have been made on notepads that we didn't discuss, and it ended up as the title of the episode.
Again,
We're gonna talk aliens today.
of course.
That is-
I mean, it was going to happen anyways. Now it's like, now there's just no ambiguity as to whether we're going to discuss aliens or not.
You know it's coming.
Yeah.
We're gonna take y'all on a ride, but it's gonna end up in aliens. Now you
No,
know
we're
that.
gonna take you on a fever dream.
An electric fever dream featuring your conductor Nikola Tesla, who was born in modern-day Croatia in 1856. If you don't know who Tesla is, I mean, like, we're not talking about the cars. We're not talking about the company run by Elon Musk, and whose child is probably half alien.
Yes,
Probably.
good chance.
Yeah. I don't know how to pronounce the name.
I don't know either.
It's not
Alpha,
pronounceable.
Ada 16 something. And only aliens can say it.
I don't even think he knows, because I watched an interview once where the interviewer like said it phonetically how it's meant to be said, and he was like, how's and then Elon Musk was like, what? And he goes, how's it? And he's like, what? He goes, your son. He goes, oh, my son. Yeah.
It's like,
And then-
I didn't even know I have a son, right?
Yeah.
Does he have a few kids? Like, he's got kids from
He
different
does.
countries,
He
too.
does. Yeah.
No, but we're talking about the, I don't know what you want to call him, like the visionary, the
He's like,
inventor.
they call him like the father of like the modern age.
Perhaps. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you could call him the father of the electric age.
A man ahead of his time, for sure.
Nikola Tesla Stormborn.
No
You get it?
one, no one calls him
I
that.
suppose.
Yeah, they do. Well, he was born between fucking July 9th and 10th, right at midnight during a lightning storm.
That's not. There's not an in between time between dates.
Is it-
He's
that's
not
what-
born
There's a
between.
limbo.
He's if it's midnight, it's the 10th.
He started
It's the
crowning on the 9th, and by the time he was fully out of the womb,
This isn't, dude. You're the medical professional, and you're talking about limbo between days here. He was
Yeah.
born in the purgatory between two days.
That's exactly what I'm saying. It's what I read from a fucking book, asshole.
This is great. This is great.
It adds a little mystique to it. Sorry.
You hear it.
Mr. fucking adding aliens when we talk about them for about 4 seconds during this case file. All right? So wipe the sweat out of your eyes.
They're stinging.
So there is perhaps with Nikola Tesla, he was a strange child, or perhaps he was very marked as special from an early age. He demonstrated kind of qualities of obsessiveness that people found during that time. They found it amusing. Like it was almost like parlor tricks of some sort, where he could memorize entire books, or he could, kind of tuck away entire logarithmic tables in his mind and just recite them
Crazy.
offhand.
I mean, with the good came the bad as well, unfortunately.
Yes, there's also that. But, another one of the good things apparently was that he was able to pick up a lot of languages easily. He was like a polyglot of some sort. He could work, apparently, when he was a child, like he would invent things, or he would, when he would task himself with something or building something, apparently he would not sleep. Like he could function with very little sleep. That's one of the things that
2 hours.
2-3 hours a day.
Just like Cosmo Kramer.
But it's super interesting how he described himself throughout grade school. Did you guys read that? Like word for word what he said? He said, I had a violent aversion to the earrings of women. The sight of a pearl would nearly give me a fit.
Right.
I would not touch the hair of another person except perhaps at the point of a revolver. I'd get a fever from just looking at a peach.
Peach.
A peach.
Right? Like,
Those stupid fuzzy fruits.
Or the makings of an evil genius,
why?
right? Because his weakness, a peach, right?
Maybe.
Right? There it is.
Or hair.
It's
Or a
that's
pearl.
when we hear those things now, like right when I think of like man, that's some high functioning autism.
More
Right,
along
like-
the lines of Asperger's, but yeah, definitely.
So at the age of 19, he actually began studying electrical engineering in, like in seriousness. Like he kind of had an interest in it before, and it was always kind of, he came from actually a religious family. His father was actually a priest, and that's so he'd always had this kind of connection to like a spiritual side, but he also was very deeply interested in like the physical sciences. When he went to go study at the Polytechnic Institute at Graz in Austria, he quickly established himself as a star student. Like the professors remarked on his abilities he almost had this uncanny, innate understanding of electricity and how it functioned.
As he was born during a lightning storm.
As he was born during a lightning storm.
Between days.
Between days in purgatory of the 9th and the 10th of July.
And so during the years of his higher education, it said that he spent just those entire years thinking or conceiving of the idea of electromagnetic fields and a hypothetical motor that could be powered by alternate current, and that could work, and that could possibly hadn't been invented yet, or it hadn't been put into production yet, but he had a good idea of what he wanted to do, and these thoughts were an obsession to him. And you could probably say maybe some of this contributed to some of the things that happened in his life leading up to the point where, rather than finishing his studies, he became a gambling addict. Apparently he lost all his tuition money in this gambling addiction, and then he ended up dropping out of school, and they actually suffered a nervous breakdown at that point.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, I could see that.
the way he could see the inventions in his mind, he took that through his whole life. Everything he ever developed, he would develop and rework it and perfect it in his mind before he would even take it to the shop. He said, I'm pretty sure he quoted as saying there's no difference between making it in my mind or making it in the shop. The results are the same. He would just see it. He would see the motor, he would build it in his mind, he'd take it apart, he'd fix it, and then when it came time to implement it, he would just build it.
Right, and one of the first examples here he talks about that was in 1881 when he was living in Budapest, or Budapest, depending on how you want to pronounce it. And then when he was actually recovering from that nervous breakdown, he said he was actually walking in a park with a friend who was reciting poetry to him, because I guess that's what you did in the 1800s, late 1800s. I don't
They got no TV.
You don't have a Walkman or anything.
That's what me and Zell do when we walk City Park in Kelowna.
Yeah.
Go, Zell, read me some of your new poems.
They would go back and forth with a couple poems. It's soothing.
Haikus,
Soliloquies.
soliloquies. Yeah.
And he said, he remarks and talks about, at that very moment, he had this kind of flash where he could see, almost physically see this construction, a diagram in front of him, that he was actually able to, take a stick and draw it out of the motor using the principle of rotating magnetic fields. And then he could draw it out, it just came to him like a lightning bolt, and then he had it. So it's one example of that thing of what Zell earlier mentioned. He had this ability, or whatever you want to call it, to kind of conceive these things and build them in his mind, and then take them apart and figure out what pieces go where and how it would work and how these things. And not many people displayed that kind of, or were able to articulate those thoughts at that time. He was very unique in that.
I can't even do anything above my 5 times tables in my head.
Right?
Yeah.
I gotta write that shit down.
Yeah, need my fingers.
Yeah, with the 9 times tables, you can use your fingers, and that's about as far as I can go. Out of calc.
So his dreams of working with electricity electricity and building these motors, naturally where he wanted to go was a place that was very on the forefronts of innovation. So he wanted to go to the United States. So 3 years after he drew this diagram in the dirt of an alternate current motor, he left for New York City, and he arrived there. This is how the story goes, with 4 cents in his pockets and a letter of recommendation from Charles Batchelor, who was one of his former employers, and it was referring him to the Wizard of Menlo Park, Thomas Edison.
Yeah, well, it was pretty cool. He wrote, he's like, I know of 2 great men. You are one of them. The other is this young man.
Yeah, and he got that recommendation because he was working. Wasn't he working for the Paris, like the Edison company, but the Europe version? And he started as a grunt and pretty much was traveling around Europe just fixing all their machines. And like, you know what, this guy's well above his pay grade, and they should give him the opportunity to go to New York. And then the rest is history.
So when he began working with Edison quickly realized that this guy he's a cut above the rest. He's definitely somebody that I would like to. Some people would say that Edison, not necessarily, he didn't perhaps have the engineering talent, perhaps compared to Edison, like Tesla, like between them, like if you compared their qualities. But Edison was also like he could recognize talent. Like he was good at doing that as well.
He was a master business.
And he didn't quite have the same love of animals that
and so
Eating elephants.
So there's a story that elephant broke loose and killed a bunch of people. So
It was going down anyway, is what you're saying.
supercharged.
Let's get to that.
So, according to Tesla, how he tells the story is that Edison actually offered him $50,000 at that time if he could improve upon the direct current generation plants that Edison had favored, and that he was planning on building and creating like kind of electrical infrastructure out of. And then Tesla said that just in a few months he was able to inform Edison that he had improved on these motors that Edison was using.
Can you give me? I could really use some of that money. He's like, you don't even understand American humor. There's no way I was gonna pay you. This is a joke.
Yeah.
It's an American joke. You're foreign. You don't understand. I just shafted him.
It's funny. It really makes you wonder, like at that time, especially, how many of these foreign inventors that immigrated to the States that got taken advantage of in situations like this.
Did $1,000 back then is equivalent of $1.2 million. Like that's life-changing money. So he was probably just doing his best work, and then to just be like, that's a joke.
Yeah, then it's like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
Thanks for the free labor.
1800 for a farm worker.
So there's a lot of history between the competition and the rivalry between Tesla and Edison, but they did the result is they ended up having a falling out.
I don't understand why. Sounds like Edison was a pretty funny guy, and Tesla just was a stick in the mud. That's what it sounds like to me.
Tesla had all these ideas for a new type of power, like to take AC power and use it as power transmission, and Edison wasn't having it, and that was pretty much it.
Peace. So Tesla went on to make his own business. He wanted to make his own way away from, pretty much anyway from Edison, to become a competitor, become somebody who was moving on in his own ideas. So Tesla went out and got patents for his AC motors and the power systems that would accompany them. And these were, some scientists and engineers would say that these are some of the most valuable inventions since the telephone. Like, again, this is why we would call him the father of the electric age, why most of our power grids run on alternate current, things like that.
And he's like a lot of people are misinformed that he invented AC power. He just invented how to transmit it long distance, and everything we use in our system's power grid is based off Tesla's work, which is insane.
And it's also, you can't really, and we can't really write off Edison either. There was a comparison that I came across researching this, where it's like you can call Tesla the father of the electric age, while Edison is the father of the electronic age, because most of your devices in your house run on direct current. You have some sort of converter within them that take that
circuit board runs on DC. So in the end, both of them are very valuable. It just took a while. It took a while for people to figure that out.
Well, one of them was willing to do it for free.
Yeah, wanted to give this better humanity, and one was
The other one was taking advantage of immigrants.
Well, it's so like as the story kind of goes, like,
animals.
when you have like this war of the currents, it was kind of like you had Edison, but you also had George Westinghouse, who's a contributor and recognized that Tesla's designs might be what he actually needed to kind of unseat Edison's DC current. He licensed Tesla's patents for about $60,000 in stocks and cash and royalties based on how much electricity Westinghouse would sell. Now, Westinghouse ended up like putting out the money, and he beat Edison and his direct current ideas and things like this. So he pretty much got all the contracts to provide electricity to most of the United States and Europe. And the thing was, after he had won this war of the currents, he had lost a lot of money during the litigation phases and in the actual competition, and so like he was perhaps teetering on the edge of perhaps bankruptcy or serious financial doubt at that point. And as the story goes, like he told Tesla that in order to avoid paying Tesla, like he couldn't afford to pay Tesla for what he had like his patents and things like this, because if he would have had to pay Tesla, like Tesla would have had millions and millions of dollars he would have had to pay him for all of this successful stuff. But because Westinghouse was the person who took a chance on Tesla felt morally obligated to Westinghouse, and it said that he tore up the contracts and licenses.
Originally, the story goes that Westinghouse asked him to just take a lower percentage, and then Tesla's like, you know what? You help me out. I'll just tear it up, and I won't take anything. And he's like, oh, interesting.
An unfathomable amount of money torn up.
He would have been one of, if not like the richest person in the United States, if not the world. He would have been one of the wealthiest people in the world.
If you think about it, if his patent was worth any power grid that they set up with this new AC current technology that they were using, he's entitled to a percentage of that, and now that's used worldwide. It was insane how much money he was entitled to, that he's like, betterment of humanity, I don't need that. I'm going to walk away from that. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it would have been worth, he had already owed Tesla millions in royalties, and then he was going to owe him like billions of dollars in the future. So we asked him if he wanted to take a lower percentage, and Tesla was like, nope, not here. You know what? Just tear it up.
That's bananas.
Crazy. So, from just this story, Tesla's a genius, but his business acumen never quite up to snuff.
Yeah.
It's not about the Benjamins, man.
So then, now Tesla is, his namesake. You have like the Tesla coil, things like that, and you have other inventions that fall under his name and under his thing or are attributed to him. So you have different ideas that swirl around Tesla. People attribute them to Tesla, and you could perhaps say like some of them he came up with, some of them he kind of borrowed ideas from other scientists of his time, contemporaries and things like this. But a lot of people would, at least give him the advantage, or they'd go ahead and attribute his ideas to leading to new forms of light, such as neon and fluorescent light. So, using gases to electrify and be charged, electrically charged, and you get these new kinds of lights, as opposed to using the usual like tungsten, those types of lights and stuff like that. And people would also say he also contributed into the development of X-rays.
Yeah.
And some of his biggest contributions come under like radio. So when he built these Tesla coils, so it's pretty much like these Tesla coils are capable of generating high voltages and frequencies. He made it possible to send and receive radio signals, which in like the 1900s, nobody kind of knew what radio technology was.
No.
at the point. Like,
Still-
it hadn't been invented yet. Like,
Still
it
in
was
World
not
War
there.
One, they were still had the radio guy who would drag that wire across the battlefield so you could talk back to your commander. Like there was still
Right.
wire.
They were basically using
Wireless
cups.
radio had not
They were
been
using
invented.
cups and strings.
Yeah, pretty much.
Basically, high tech cups and strings. It's true.
And so wireless transmission technology became like the big thing in like that just like solid turn of the century right there in 1900. That was what he was trying to invent. But he had different ideas for it. He had different concepts about what it could do. Tesla was in his time a visionary. He was very good at kind of articulating his thoughts about what could be done with certain technologies and where it could take us and how is it. It's like he was a lot of people would say in that time, I would think you have to be a type of showman as well as like a scientist. Like Edison was known as well. Like a lot of those guys back then, like researching for this, I can imagine it's just like pretty much every electrical engineer is throwing out every idea and making all these large and bold claims about what their technology, what their engines, what their electrical devices could do and where they could take humanity. And Tesla was one of those big idea guys. And he was like, I can make the world completely different from what you see today. We can have all of these incredible things, and I can do it with this. I can do it with wireless transmission technology. Is what he had the concept and had conceived.
And it's good because you look at Tesla's grandstanding and you think of like Stark Industries. He's up there and he's doing all this cool shit, shooting light everywhere, cue the final countdown fucking song like Job. It's awesome. It's cool. And then Edison shows up and he's like, hey, that cool shit, well, look what it does to elephants. It just fucking executes it, he starts small. He starts with like family pets, fucking cats, dogs, and just literally barbecues them on stage for people, like super villain shit. And then he's like, you want to know you think that's bad? Wait till I bring up this fucking elephant named Tilly, or whatever the hell his name was. And he tries to electrically shock an elephant with AC current live on fucking stage.
To show everyone how dangerous it is.
And all he does is juice up Babar, and Babar goes nuts. Like, that's how you create a super villain elephant. What was he fucking thinking?
Well, it worked. People were scared of the elephant.
Scared of the wrong
yeah.
fucking guy, though. Like, they're like, oh, they should be scared of Edison, a guy that's willing to fucking live execute a fucking elephant on stage for you to prove a point. That's fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
And so there is debate, or there had been debate, about whether Tesla could be credited with actually invented radio signals. So it was kind of up in the air between him and Guglielmo Marconi about who first kind of invented.
What was his
What?
first name again?
Say that again, please.
Guglielmo.
Oh no, that's the real name. For some reason, I thought it was Guillermo, and then I just read it
it's
again. I'm like,
Guglielmo.
nope.
I might be Guglielmo.
Macaroni.
Guglielmo.
Guglielmo macaroni.
Yeah.
It's a Guglielmo Marconi.
And so there is some about like who really created radio first. So at first it was Marconi got credited and seemed to beat Tesla to the punch of actually inventing these